Hear that? That's the sound of a patient whose health data is protected from a cyber attack. And that's the sound of a financial system that's digitally secured from bad actors. Right now, there's an invisible war being fought on a digital battlefield that impacts what we do every day. That's why at Peraton, we do the can't be done to help protect the vital systems we rely on. Because if we don't, the alternative is unimaginable. Peraton.
Welcome back to the direct-to-video connoisseur. As always, it's Matt here, and I am joined by two special guests who are familiar to the show here. No strangers at all here. We've got Brett and Ty from Comeuppance Reviews. How are you guys doing?
Great. Happy to be
doing
here.
Great.
Yeah,
happy to be here once
speaking,
again.
by the way.
Oh yeah. That's Brett, and then I'm Tyler, or Ty, or whatever. That's my name. But it's like, and thanks for having us back.
Excellent.
Yes, thanks a lot.
Yeah, I would say if anybody has trouble distinguishing between the two of you guys, they should be listening to Comeuppance Reviews podcast.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, and then when you listen to that, you'll get a sense of who sounds like who, and then you won't have to worry about that problem. So that's the solution. If anybody's worried about when is Brett speaking, when is Ty speaking, that's my suggestion for how to fix that problem.
I appreciect that.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely.
As Brett speaking, I definitely appreciate that.
As Ty speaking, thanks.
Excellent. And I think you guys have the record for most guest appearances, which I guess it's kind of, which is probably a record you'll probably always have because you guys will be on from time to time. But I think you guys and then Mitch right after have been on,
nice.
Because you guys were the only ones who were on twice when I had the early run with Jamie before the hiatus. So you already started off with a lead on everybody.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Well, our relationship as bloggers, website runners goes back pretty far.
10 years. 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Mitch on our podcast. It worked out very well.
I'd like to have him back on ours, actually.
Yeah,
he was really good.
He was good. I got to email him.
Yeah.
I didn't forget about him.
I was going to say, I think that episode that you guys did, that might have been my favorite podcast episode of any podcast I listened to this year, the one that you guys did with the Jean-Claude Van Damme one. That was such a fantastic episode.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. That's and we're going to be doing Cynthia Rothrock here, who I think is one that I never quite realized how much people really liked her until I just posted like a one-off like dad joke meme of her on my Instagram. It was just like, it had a picture of her from one of the Tiger Claws movies, I believe, where she's holding a candle. And I made a joke. I was like, the only person who can hold a candle to Cynthia Rothrock is Cynthia Rothrock, So just like pure dad joke. And it blew up. It had like 70 likes, which, for my Instagram, I don't have a lot of followers because it's still new. We're still getting it up there. So anything beyond, I think, like 20 means that it's like people outside, people who are following the tag on there. But that was a shock for me because I was thinking like, okay, Dolph obviously is a big one. Everybody likes Dolph. And, from there, it's like sometimes Seagal, somebody like that. But every time I post a Rothrock one, people like it. And so I think this is one that people have wanted to hear for a while is, a podcast about Cynthia Rothrock.
Well, thanks for having us on for that.
Surprised.
Yeah. Now, one thing I wanted to mention before we get into this one is when we did the previous time you guys were on, when we did the PM Entertainment one, I can't remember if it was Ty or Brett after who said, oh, we forgot to mention Skyscraper. And because we did mention it on that PM Entertainment podcast. And then I did the blog of it, but I think, Ty, when you and I were talking about when you guys were coming back on, I was like, well, maybe we could, make up for that gap of forgetting Skyscraper, do an episode on Skyscraper.
Just Skyscraper.
Right, exactly.
I think Ty mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, I did.
That's right. Sure enough, Richard Haas from DTV Digest, he commented when I did the skyscraper post, when I put it on Facebook, he commented, he's like, you guys should do a podcast about that. I'm like, okay, so that's probably what we'll do when I have Brett and Ty on the next time, but we had already talked about doing the Rothrock one, so I thought, I felt like we shouldn't skip it. Like, we really should get this one in, because I think people really are interested in talking about her.
Yes, I agree, and I'd definitely be up for all skyscraper, maybe / To the Limit podcast if you ever wanted to do that.
Yeah, happy to do that.
That might be the thing to do, is maybe add To the Limit too, because they're both on Tubi right now, which is good.
Nice.
Though, I mean, I don't know. There's so much that happens in Skyscraper that you could. I mean, I don't want to do the podcast now because it's like I just see Malibu in that vest and shirt, the Uzi, or
so
the other
great.
shirt that he had that was like maybe a woman's shirt that like you could unzip to show the man.
Classic Malibu.
Yes.
It's just Die Hard in the building. That's all I have to say.
Die Hard in a skyscraper.
Right. Right. I guess
Yeah.
It's Die Hard in the upper floors of the skyscraper. Is that what makes it less Die Hardy or different from Die Hard?
It's like, what was missing from the original Die Hard? Anna Nicole Smith. That's what someone must have thought.
Right. And the funny thing is, I don't know if you saw on my Facebook page, Simon linked a video on YouTube where they show all the outtakes. And we discovered that one of the reasons why they decided to have her be a helicopter pilot was that someone could give her lines into the headset.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's so PM Entertainment, right, to think of that like, what's a job that we can give Anna Nicole Smith that we can give her lines and it won't seem unnatural. And so, yeah.
I know.
You hear movies today when people have the same dialogue go back and forth, like, how dare you? How dare you? It's like, and that's easy. So someone tells her great lines as Carrie Wink, and then she happily repeats them. It's like Zit's helicopter rental or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. We're getting pretty deep into it already.
Okay.
It's very addictive to talk about this.
Didn't this happen the last time with PM Entertainment? We started doing a Lorenzo Lamas podcast without realizing it. We had to bring it back.
Well, I mentioned to you about
spontaneous Lamas conversations. It can definitely happen.
Well, there's no Renegade podcast. Hopefully, no one steals that idea. It's
Yeah.
just that every episode of Renegade is talked about.
Hundreds of episodes.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I bet you, I didn't think if you did a Renegade podcast, like, I don't know if you could get Lamas to guest on, but I bet you could get people like Kathleen Kinmont and Branscombe Richmond to be on and like do interviews and stuff.
That's a good idea.
Some behind the scenes people, I'm sure, too.
Right, exactly. I mean, you got to think that people would want to talk about that show, and that could be a real interesting one, and especially with like the way those shows. I mean, all the people that guest starred on episodes. I mean, that show was just they don't make TV like that anymore, unfortunately.
No, sadly, no.
At least we have 110 great episodes of Renegade.
Yeah,
Every single one.
Yeah, 110 episode podcast.
That's a lot, 110 episode podcast.
Yeah, that's a big podcast. So, yeah, that's something to consider. I mean, I guess when there's 2-part episodes, maybe you do. Like, remember there was that end of the season one where they had, what was it? Because the Pentium chip was out. That was like the new thing. And they were talking about the 686 chip was what the next the next thing was. And all these, like, mercenaries or bounty hunters were out trying to get this woman that had it.
Well, there's a lot of intrigue when it comes, corporate intrigue when it comes to Pentium processors.
Right.
Is Vince Black or Reno Reigns going to figure this one out in this episode?
Exactly, with Dutch Dixon hot on the trail. Oh, man. Well, one thing that I thought it would be an interesting, actually, I forgot to bring this up to you guys before we were doing the episode of one interesting thing we're talking about syndicated TV. And I know on your podcast, you guys have a great segment called Could Have Been a Contender about people who should have done DTV. And
yes.
Rothrock, the subject of this episode here, it's interesting to think that she never did syndicated TV. Like, she would have been it would have been a great show based around her, I think.
Oh, I agree. I mean, she got close with Irresistible Force, I believe that was the name of it, which was a pilot for a TV show that was supposed to happen with Stacy Keach. But beyond that, you're right. She should have done at least 1 or 2 seasons. I mean, if you think about it, like Fred Dreyer, lots of people, I think Thomasine Griffith all did syndicated TV, so why
Sammo
not?
Hung.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Dudikoff.
Cobra. Love that show.
Lamas. I mean, you think of the shows that were out there. I mean, yeah, it is. That's a good point you mentioned about Irresistible Force, because I think that was supposed to be a TV show, and who knows what happens with TV shows if, like, that there's turnover in the at the top, and somebody who liked it decides they don't like it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like one day there's a new president and they decide they don't like it. Yeah, I think it's a common story.
Irresistible Force. We're canceling this great idea for a program.
Yeah,
I'm sure someone said that.
I mean, the fact that I think that if that was a pilot for a TV show, and I feel like if Walker Texas Ranger was a TV show for however many years, Irresistible Force could have been a good TV show.
They could put it on back to back.
Right? Yes, that would have been good. That would have been a good. Because was that where Sammo Hung's show was on? Was that after?
Think so. Yeah, I never really seen martial law. I just remember seeing it a long time ago as a kid. It's on DVD now. Same with Nash Bridges.
Right, I remember Nash Bridges with Cheech Marin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk about these great 90s syndicated shows all day.
Yeah.
But,
well, what's great, I think, about Cynthia Rothrock is that she was big in that period that I think we think of as like the golden age of DTV action, that sort of late 80s into the 90s. For you guys, what were some of your earliest or best memories of Rothrock?
Oh, let's go ahead.
Well, before we even do that, because I don't know if I have a super early memory of Rothrock, but I don't want to bury the lead here, but I've met Cynthia Rothrock.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I have. The thing is, it's not much of a story though, so I don't really have a big story to tell about this, but I have met her, which is at the Chiller Theater Convention in New Jersey, where they have stars and autograph signings and like a typical, like a horror convention, and she was there, and I remember meeting her, and I believe walking either out of the room she was in into an elevator with her. She's very short, she's short in stature, very pleasant, very nice. I mean, basically said like hello and maybe exchanged a few little words together, and then that was it. So I don't have a big story about this, but I have met her. I have seen her in person, and even I believe as close confines as an elevator, and she was nothing if not completely pleasant, completely nice, and just from our brief meeting, I've nothing but a pleasant memory of meeting her.
Wow, that is amazing. Yeah, because she's from this area. I think she's from Wilmington, Delaware. So I imagine, yeah, it probably would be natural for her to come here and do stuff in Jersey, that area. It does seem like she would be that way. So that's really cool to find out that that's actually the truth. That she didn't like give you the cold shoulder or give you a scorpion.
No, nothing like that at all. No cold shoulder. Goodness. Very, very pleasant. Very nice.
Yeah.
I just remember her seeing her movies around the video store. I never had a chance to rent them as a kid. You're renting, Mighty Ducks and all that stuff. D2 to Mighty Ducks, D3 to Mighty Ducks. You're not renting the martial art movies. So it's like.
But then at a certain point you are. At a certain point you grow up and you grow up walk to the action section of the video store, and then you start seeing these box covers. And,
oh yeah, it's like. Well, I think we mentioned this before. It's like when I first saw Death Fight with Richard Norton. It's like Richard Norton, as I call him. Richard Norton. Who is Richard Norton?
An all new face and an all new name for us, because his name is huge on that box. And it's like, who? Why are they touting this guy as this big guy? I mean, he was a big name, but we didn't know that, No,
and now we know. And now, and they were in those movies together, which we'll probably talk about shortly.
Yeah, well, because I think that's for me too. I was trying to remember if it was the video store or TV that I first because you know how when you'd rent movies, you'd get all those trailers at the beginning, and I cannot remember if I saw the trailer on there or if it was like China O'Brien was going to be on TV and they were advertising it. But I do remember, I mean, that cover, that VHS cover to China O'Brien was just big. Yeah, it was like that was one where you're like, I got to see this. I got to know what this is all about. Like this movie just seems like, and I cannot remember if I saw it first there. And then that was my first experience with Cynthia Rothrock was China O'Brien, and I can't remember where I watched it. I think that's one of the problems now is that we're like 30 years away from that time. And so
I know it's getting.
But I do remember I think there were posters and maybe even standees for China O'Brien. I mean, they were really pushing China O'Brien as a big DTV action release, to compete with all the others,
Yeah. And Rage of Honor too. It's like I remember that.
Rage of Honor also, or Rage of Honor?
No, Rage and Honor. No, Rage and Honor, the first one.
Oh, okay.
Rage and Honor as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what Rage and Honor 2, that would be Patrick Muldoon would be the standing cardboard cutout, right, for that one instead.
We were just talking about Saved by the Bell before we recorded.
Yeah.
You know, he was Jeff on Saved by the Bell.
Right.
Stole Kelly from Zach.
Yes.
And appeared in some action movies.
That's right.
Yeah.
Chain of Command.
Yeah, he was.
And Black Cat Run.
Right. He was in one recently with Casper Van Dien. It was like a motorcycle gang movie or something like that. And he's just like, I have a picture of him on the blog that a screenshot that I took where he's just like holding like a Dos Equis in his hand with his hair all messed up and his like tribal or like his barbed wire arm band tattoo or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like it's sort of like the natural conclusion for Patrick Muldoon that's where he'd end up is doing that role in that movie.
From Starship Troopers to that movie.
About Black Cat Run. Oh, sorry, Teddy.
None say it's from Starship Troopers when they were both in that, Casper Van Dien and Muldoon, to what movie did you watch for a minute again?
That might have been Black Cat Run. That might.
No, Casper's not in that one.
Oh, what's the one? It's a biker movie. It's a biker movie of some sort. It's man, I don't remember. I think it's one of the last Casper Van Dien ones because when I posted it, there was a picture. The screenshot I took of Casper Van Dien, he had this very earnest look on his face. So when I posted on Twitter, I said, here's Casper Van Dien with a very earnest face in whatever the movie was, and he retweeted and he was like, earnest face? Like, what are you talking about? I was like, Casper Van Dien, what are you doing retweeting?
It's like, I'm always earnest. What do you mean? Why are you pointing that out?
Well, didn't he message you also on Instagram about having some cake or something?
Right, because the picture that he took of him, or the screenshot that I got of him in Showdown in Manila, it was just like this really goofy grin on his face that looked like he was up to something. So the only thing I could think of that would be like, appropriate and you could fit in a meme was just him being like, saying he's not going to eat your cake, but when you turn around, he's totally going to eat your cake or something like that, or eat your pie. Eat your pie. That's what it is. Eat your pie. And
pie.
Yeah, he reposted. He was like, "I like pie," and
perfect response.
Yes, exactly. The movie was Born to Ride. That was.
Yes, I was just about to say that. I was about to look that up for you.
Yeah.
But that's not the same movie with John Stamos, right?
No. This one, but going back to our Renegade conversation, it does have Branscombe Richmond.
Someone likes Renegade. These movies. It's like, well, who doesn't, as you keep saying. But
exactly.
If you don't like Renegade, you're not allowed to watch TV.
Wow.
I know it's very harsh, but it's Renegade. Come on.
Yeah. I kind of agree. I mean, great theme song. The motorcycle, that. Yeah, whatever that monologue thing at the beginning, and now he prowls the Badlands, a bounty hunter, right? It's just like an outlaw, a renegade, and then you get that guitar.
He does that funny jump at the end. It's like, whoa! All right.
Well, that's what Lamas is known for. I mean, look at Viper.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he's a jumper, which
yes.
We got a jumper.
Yeah.
It's Lamas.
Now, for the list here, I thought we'd do a couple of disclaimers before we get into your list. Probably the biggest one is, I think, Ty and you and I were talking about this, that we haven't seen everything from Cynthia Rothrock. Yes. There are some real obscure ones out there. I think I mentioned that there's one she did in Cambodia that's in Cambodian that you can find on YouTube, which, I don't know if I want to watch a movie that's entirely Cambodian and guess what happens in it, but more obscure ones than that are just hard to find. So I think that's one of the things is that people out there, if you're hearing us talk about this list and again, and the other disclaimer I want to say is that these are more like our favorites or our fun, not so much like the definitive, we're telling you this is correct and fight us if, or don't add us or whatever, that the kids say when they're making a crazy opinion. But if you're hearing one that you feel like we didn't put on here that maybe we haven't seen yet, if it's more obscure, let us know, and also maybe let us know where we can track some of these down, because I think
that's a good point.
Yeah, I think we would love. There's some of those ones, especially ones she did in Hong Kong and Cambodia, I guess, that we can't, that we haven't been able to get, that we would love to find out. So at the end of the episode, we're going to talk about where to find us. But drop any of us a line, and we would love to, because we kind of trade off, where you find things. So let us know. We would love to hear that.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if it's on either of the list. Well, I don't want to give anything away, but some of her Hong Kong movies are more well known, such as Above the Law. which is a great movie. So, that got a wide distribution. That got a really good DVD release from Dragon Dynasty. So, some of the Hong Kong work is out there. But yeah, obviously some of the others were done by more low budget companies and didn't get a lot of distribution.
Yeah. And I mean, if we could find, it's amazing too, because you talk to someone like Simon Miller for Explosive Action in Australia. He collects like a lot of foreign, VHS, DVD, VCDs. I mean, he collects all kinds of stuff. And
his collection's fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's how we ended up with finally being able to watch Secret of King Mahi's Island, was that he found a Japanese VHS. So, he's probably someone that eventually he's going to probably find all of these. But in the meantime, if anybody has them before he does, let us know.
Yeah, I mean, God bless him. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, as of right this moment, I don't know when people will be listening to this. Maybe it's in 20 years in the future. But as of right now, The Secret of King Mahi's Island is on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how we watched it.
Yeah, the same with me. And I think I don't know for sure how the guy who uploaded it, JCT, I say guy, we don't know if he's a guy or who it is, but it's possible that's where they got it from. Was they may have gotten his a version of his from Simon.
It's definitely possible. But that YouTube user, I don't know if we could say, I think we mentioned it before on either our podcast or Exploding Helicopter, but the guy's just called JCT.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of really obscure foreign action movies, and he seems to be quite a collector himself. So if you go on YouTube and just check out JCT all in capital letters, you'll see he has a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about Richard Norton, who co-stars with Cynthia Rothrock in a lot of his solo stuff. I think JCT has a few of his solo ones on there.
Does he have Mission Terminate? Because that movie's awesome.
Yeah, and maybe it's not him that has the one that you guys post. I think, Ty, you posted the VHS of this one recently. Is it Blood Streets?
Oh, Blood Street, yeah.
Blood Street.
Yeah. Did he have that on there? Because that's
I don't know if he had it or somebody else had it. Yeah.
That's a really whack. It's Leo Fong and Richard Norton and Chuck Jeffries.
Yeah, Chuck. Always gonna love Chuck Jeffries.
It's a combination of people.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the other thing I want to mention is, too, I didn't really come up with my own list so much as, we're going to kind of do it like we did with the PM Entertainment one, where, Ty's got the list, and then we'll just kind of talk about them, each one. And we're not doing a bottom five, which we did. I know when I was on with you guys with Seagal, and then also with Van Damme, the one you guys did bottom five. And I think with those guys, it's more relevant to do a bottom five because their careers are always celebrated. And plus, there's a lot of good bottom five material out there for those guys.
Especially for Seagal. I mean, Kill Switch alone, that should be 1 through 5.
Yeah, that takes up a couple slots right there.
Yeah, exactly. So but we may talk about some stinkers or things like that when we get towards the end. But why don't we jump into it? So without any further ado, what do we have for number 5?
I have Angel of Fury.
Oh yeah.
So, Brett, you want to talk about that one a little bit?
Basically, all you can really say is that it's a classic 90s martial arts movie that you would find in a video store. You take it home, and it's a satisfying watch.
Well, it stars Bolt. It's Bolt, the terrorist who strikes like lightning.
Yes. I'm speechless here because I believe that's Peter O'Brien, the stabilizer, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
And he's great in both of those movies. He's another what I might call a national treasure because he's so amazing. Maybe not quite to John Miller levels, and we might be talking about him a bit later, but he makes a great bad guy, or in the case of the stabilizer, a good guy. And there's also a scene where a little kid repeatedly kicks a guy in a rat outfit in the butt.
Yeah, that was great.
Now this one I want to double check. This is also called Lady Dragon 2, right? Does it have both titles?
It's very confusing because there is Lady Dragon 2,
which is also Angel of Fury, right? Or no?
It's a separate movie.
Right. Okay. It's a different. Okay. So
it's very confusing.
Okay.
I know why you asked that question because it's very confusing. I can't even figure it out. It's just there's Angel of Fury.
The US VHS is what we're talking about under that title. And that's just from our perspective, that's what we know. We know that VHS under that title, Lady Dragon. Right?
Okay.
Well, no, there's Lady Dragon.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And then there's Lady Dragon 2. And then there's Angel of Fury. It's 3 separate movies because another title for Angel of Fury is called Triple Cross.
Okay. That now so just want to make sure for anybody out there looking these up that Angel of Fury is also known as Triple Cross, and then for whatever reason Lady Dragon 2 was has a second title, Lady Dragon 2 Angel of Fury.
Right. Okay, that's very confusing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very confusing. But the one we're talking about now has Cynthia Rothrock and Peter O'Brien.
Okay.
Yes, that's Angel of Fury. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the one we're talking about right at this moment. I mean, other movies may come and go throughout this conversation, but as of right now, that's the one.
Yeah, and to make it even more confusing, just to throw it out there. Oh no, okay. So Lady Dragon 2 came out in 1993, so it's not as bad. So Angel of Fury was 92. Angel of Fury, also known as Triple Cross. So if you see it on Letterboxd, it's Triple Cross on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but so this is what part of the fun is with DTV is.
That's true. Yeah.
Everything has 3 titles or 4 titles, and half the time these titles are overlapping. So keep that in mind that this is not Lady Dragon 2, aka Angel of Fury. This is Angel of Fury, aka Triple Cross.
Yes.
Okay. No, I think that's the clearest way you can say it.
Perfectly clear. Yeah, perfectly clear.
All right, perfect. And that is one I haven't seen yet, one I have been trying to track down. So good to hear that this actually makes your top 5. That I'm excited to check this one out.
Yeah, I think you're going to like it. There's a lot of really great moments, and it definitely worth finding.
All right, excellent. Well, now, how about number 4?
Oh, okay. We have Honor and Glory.
Oh, yes.
Well, at a certain John Miller. Brett, you love John Miller.
I'm a huge John Miller fan. John Miller, where are you? He's just, you want to talk about chewing scenery. I mean, he chews more scenery than, jeez. I really should have thought of this analogy before I started talking, but he really, he doesn't know the meaning of subtle, which is so great. I mean, he goes so over the top. It's just with his eyes and just his whole demeanor and his mannerisms. I mean, it's just such a pleasure to watch. It's just throwing any and all subtlety completely out the window. He's a bad guy. That's it. No subtlety, no shading. Just I'm a bad guy. You got to see him to believe him. He puts in 2 killer performances in those 2 Rothrock movies, and starting with this one. So yeah,
subtlety
is great as always, but John Miller is an amazing foil for her.
Well, that just ends all the discussion for.
Well, I was telling Ty that when I did the Honor and Glory post recently, I did a review for her for that movie recently, and I actually quoted your review where you wrote that John Miller is a national treasure. So I definitely put that part in there. And I think these movies, I think one thing that's great about a John Miller type is that he, as the baddie, is just so extreme as the baddie. And then Rothrock comes in and she does her martial arts, and she's doing it's your Godfrey Ho kind of movie where fight scenes just happen out of nowhere. They make no sense and they don't need to make sense.
No, right.
Right, it's just like, okay. Yeah, I mean, the best. I know there's a few things that we were talking about that was like the best in this movie. One of my favorites is the kind of, I get, what do they call him, the younger kung fu brother or whatever. He is going up to the sister's house, played by Donna Jason. I can't remember her character name in the movie, but he's going to her house and he's got a baseball bat because he's afraid that, I think because he thinks Chuck Jeffries is in there, and Chuck Jeffries at that point is still a baddie in the movie. And he's going to that house, and then Rothrock surprises him because she's like, who is this dude with a baseball bat, snooping around my sister's house? Obviously I want to, beat the crap out of that guy. And so he starts swinging the bat at her, and she, of course, kicks his ass. And then the sister comes out and she's like, what are you doing? Why are you attacking him? And then Rothrock apologizes to him, even though he is sneaking around her sister's house, wielding a baseball bat, swinging the baseball bat at Cynthia Rothrock, and she's just defending herself. But yet she was the one apologizing. And so it was so perfectly Godfrey Ho.
Well, she's just very polite.
Well, there's another part. I almost don't want to give it away.
Well, no, it's just, I think we quote it all the time, so I feel like we can give this away. It's a one-word quote.
Yes.
That Ty. Well, is it Bolo Young that says it, or is it just someone else?
No Bolo.
Okay.
Just a villain.
It kind of looks and reminds me of Bolo.
It looks and sounds like Bolo, but it's a totally different like.
Smells like Bolo.
Yeah. But he's looking for in Honor and Glory, looking for a certain tape that they have, like a special tape. So the goon just tells the I don't know who he tells. Is it the sister maybe?
Brother, right? They call
he's a kung fu brother.
Yeah.
He just goes tape, and they say what? Tape, like a zombie.
Well, it's very fly. From what I remember, he just knocks on the door, and then they open the door, and he goes tape.
Yeah.
That's his one word sort of request, and it's very, very, very funny and amusing to watch. Definitely a rewindable moment, I think.
Yeah, it is. Because I think what happened was I watched the movie in parts, and so I think I still had like a half hour left or something like that, and it happens in the later part. So I was mentioning it to Ty that I was watching, and Ty was like tape, and I was like, oh man, did I miss that part? And then it happened, and I was just like, oh yeah, I couldn't believe, it is so funny because he's like, the guy's like trying to talk to him, the younger kung fu brother, and he's like, oh, no, kind of doing the whiny voice kind of thing, and he just goes tape, and I almost feel like more Batty Hatchet Man, because he's the Hatchet Man. They should do that more often. Forget about trying to come up with cutesy words or lines or trying to negotiate with the person that you're going to rough up. Just say what you want, whatever it is. Tape, or file, or
money,
right? Yes, right. All of those things. Just say it nice long way, and all of that. So, yeah,
nice and clear.
I think one thing that does make this movie with Rothrock in it for me too is that because John Miller is so good as a baddie, and we've established so many good fight scenes with Rothrock that when you get to the end scene there, you just want to see her. And Donna Jason has some good scenes as well. And Chuck Jeffries, of course, you got to always love Chuck Jeffries in a movie. So it's like everything comes together so well in this movie that it's a pure classic. I think and you can get it on Prime now too for people. So you can get that on Prime. You can also get the Riff Tracks version on Prime. I think you should watch it without the Riff Tracks first. Just watch it on your own first, and then it is fun to do with the Riff Tracks as well.
Well, I would certainly recommend the original version, because it's so much fun as it is. It almost doesn't need the riff tracks because it's just you'll be completely entertained by it on its own terms.
I can't make fun of Honor and Glory. How dare you?
Right, yes. Now, one other note I should mention, too, is when I posted this one recently on Facebook, speaking of Simon Miller from Explosive Action, he has a German release of this that has the original Hong Kong edit, which is supposedly completely different than this. It's maybe not as goofy and maybe has more fight scenes. He hasn't seen it yet, so he's going to tell us. And he didn't mention the joke that I said to him was, does John Miller still stand up Ronald Reagan for their breakfast date in the other version of it? Because I always love that too. He's like, I'm not hanging out with that old man, and it's like Ronald Reagan. He just came out of office there. But
it's very political. That's where I go for my political commentary.
John Miller.
Yeah, but I guess that showed you how bad of a Republican he was, right? Not Republican, but how bad of a banker ripping people off that he was, right? That he couldn't even hang out with Ronald Reagan with his trickle-down economics, I guess, right? That was
well, exactly. You could read into Honor and Glory all kinds of things,
But yeah, so supposedly there's a version out there, and I guess we're waiting. We'll see what Simon says when he watch. I just said Simon says. That's great.
Yeah. He probably hears that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll see what he says about it. But so this could even be like what you have it as number 4 here, which I definitely would put it in this area as well. But it's possible that this other version of it, this Hong Kong edit, might make it even higher on the list.
I'd love to see it. Yeah.
That's fascinating to think there's a whole other take on the movie, and just because it's so entertaining as it is, it's hard for me to see how they could improve upon it, but I would definitely be interested to know the differences. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. All right. How about number 3?
All right. I have Guardian Angel.
Oh, yeah.
It's a PM, Cynthia Rothrock, so we can't go wrong with that.
PM Rothrock. Here we go.
Yeah.
I mean, great combination. I think again, a video store classic. I think this also played on the cable networks like the Showtime and Movie Channel. This might be one of my earlier Rothrock memories now that I'm thinking about it.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, because I think it played on cable, fairly often, if I'm not mistaken.
I got to play on cable now. See,
Well,
we need.
it should, but
Well, as I say, you need.
PM, a lot of PM movies played on the pay cable networks, and I think this was just one of them.
Well, as I say to you, Brett, they should have the awesome technology of recording that we have now with the past guide of the movies that they have on the pay channels.
Yeah.
That'd be like two worlds fusing together, and I know you want that, and maybe someday we'll get some approximation of that. But
that would be great.
Now, we have one, we have the other. Never the twain shall meet. But but as far as Rothrock, I mean, definitely worthy of the top 5. In my opinion.
Definitely. Well, what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too, PM Entertainment also, this is an Art Camacho. I think he did fight choreography on this one. So, you put those two together. Art Camacho was probably one of the premier fight choreographers at that time, working with Cynthia Rothrock, who was one of the premier action, martial arts stars at that time. And it came together, again with PM Entertainment saying like, this is how we're going to make a movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you put all three of those together, you're going to get something really good. And yeah, I can definitely – I'm with you on this one. I like this one. Marshall Teague also in it, who doesn't tell anybody that he well, I have the explicit tag, so I could just say that he fucked guys like him in prison. Doesn't say that to anybody. Also doesn't get his throat ripped out. So those are 2 spoilers to let people know that those things don't happen with Marshall Teague in the movie, but everything else is there.
He's always evil, Marshall Teague, in these movies. I forget if he's evil in this one because I saw it a little while ago.
No,
he was evil in what was it? Oh, A Dangerous Place.
Yeah.
No.
I believe he's in this as her like as another person on the force. I don't remember myself now that you mention it, but the picture that I have on my site for it is the 2 of them together as police officers.
Well, I just remember Marshall Teague in Roadhouse, and of course the villain in A Dangerous Place, like Ken, like Sensei Ken or something.
Yeah, his name was like Sensei Seth or something like that.
Yeah, something funny like that.
No, but I think you're right. We're so used to seeing Marshall Teague in his more well-known roles as the baddie. I don't think he is this time around. I just think we're thinking of his other more well-known baddie roles.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So this one, did it also have Brian Thompson in it? I believe. The guy who played Shao Kahn in one of the Mortal Kombat movies.
Well, I have to double check. One, Guardian Angel or?
Guardian Angel. I think he was. Yeah, so I think he's a bad guy in it, but I of course my what I'm writing here is I'm saying oh wait, no, that's right, no, he wasn't in it. I think I was saying that that was my paragraph was that it would have been better if they'd had Brian Thompson as the bad guy, so the woman that they picked as the baddie.
But he is a baddie in another Rothrock, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yes, I don't want to give that away, but that could be what you're thinking because he did play a Rothrock nemesis in another film.
Isn't that the dream? To play a Rothrock nemesis? That's my dream.
Well,
now I don't know too if this is the one. There was a PM Entertainment movie that she did when we were doing the PM Entertainment episode. I was looking up a little bit about her on there, and she said that there was one that she did where there was some like stunt guy or something like that, some guy who was acting in the movies with them, who I guess when they were acting out the fight scene, she hit him a little hard, and he tried to sue PM Entertainment for like $25,000.
Yeah.
Was that this movie?
That's in that long, lengthy sort of article that I think we talked about. That the whole breakdown of PM. That's in there somewhere.
Yeah,
maybe it was Guardian Angel.
Yeah, she did a few with PM Entertainment, right? That I thought it was one with Richard Norton in it too. So maybe it wasn't this one. I don't know if she did a PM Entertainment one that had him in it as well.
The Rage and Honor 1 and 2. Those weren't PM, I don't think.
No. So maybe this was the one. Maybe this was the one that had happened, which is great to think that some guy like was like trying to sue them. I guess he tried to settle for like $250 or something like that.
Yeah, like he started off with like $1 million, and they're like, no, and it's like 500,000, no, and they just get, all right, give me $50. Like he pretty much just like was kind of just a crybaby and wanted money from the sound of the story.
$50 and a biggie fries from Wendy's. Just
exactly.
like.
That was the thing in the early 90s, right? Was I'll sue, right? That was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, we all wanted to sue things.
Suing was really hot back then.
That's right. What was it? Was it Rocky 5 where that manager guy, he punches that manager guy and the guy's like, I'm going to sue. He's like, sue me for what? And then
That was the time when, coffee was being spilled on people and it was hot. And,
right.
all kinds of people were being sued. So, yeah, I'll sue you. Or people saying, so sue me. That was like something people said because it was like, it was in the national consciousness at the
We
time.
couldn't stop suing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we just couldn't stop.
Yeah, that would have been great if that guy they challenged the $250 one and went to small claims court and it was like Cynthia Rothrock on the People's Court with the other guy.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah.
That would have been a great way to get her on syndicated TV.
The only way to get her on Judge Judy or Judge Joe Brown, something like that.
Exactly.
Well, those other judge shows that were on at the time.
Oh, Judge Mills Lane.
Oh,
But
man.
who was a boxer, he was a fighter in his own right.
Right, yes. That was great. Yeah.
They just want to wear the robe. They love the robe.
Yes.
Well, we all. But it would have been interesting, and it would have made good TV, like good court TV, if as part of the court action in the courtroom he had to do martial arts. Like, in other words, the judge says, "Oh, I don't believe you're a real martial artist. I think you're a scammer. Like, do some martial arts right here in the courtroom."
Yeah. Well, that would have been in the commercial promo, right? On the next Judge Judy. Yeah.
That would be the episode name too. Yeah.
Perfect.
So that would have been something. That should have happened.
We would have loved that. Excellent.
'Cause you don't
All
wanna
right,
get
we're
Go ahead.
moving through the list here. What? How about number 2?
I have Martial Law 2,
Oh,
Undercover.
Yeah, good one.
That was a great team up between Wincott and Rothrock.
Yes, and that's what should have happened. The first one, it had Chad McQueen.
Yes.
And so then for the sequel, they kind of, it's like cut and paste. They cut Chad McQueen, but they pasted Wincott, and that, to me, that's an upgrade. I mean, you want Wincott and teamed up with Rothrock together. It's a power team that people should see.
And it delivered the goods.
Yeah, it was interesting, right? Because what's interesting is that Rothrock's the one who's in both of them, but yet it was almost like it's like one of those things like for people if you have a job and you're like hoping to get moved up in the position and they just hire somebody from outside to take the other person's position and you're like, oh, like why, I wonder if Rothrock felt that way, if she was like, oh, I should be moved into the lead, right? But oh no, they're just gonna get Wincott in here, but it does work.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I mean, because there's no less Rothrock in the sequel. Right. You just her presence kind of maintains, but they just kind of replace Chad McQueen with Wincott, and to me that works.
Yeah, and I agree too that that's how it should have always been. Like, I think when you watch Martial Law 2, I think that's probably the ultimate thing for that movie. Is it's a weird kind of sequel in that sense. I don't think I've ever seen a sequel like that before. I was like, that's how the first one should have been, right? Where you're like,
right.
Usually it's like either the sequel is as good, better, or worse than the first one, but it's not like it doesn't feel like a do-over like this one feels like.
Yeah, well, that's true. It's kind of like, like Godfather 2. It's a lot of people say Godfather 2 is better than Godfather 1. So in the world of DTV, maybe you could compare it.
This is the Godfather 2.
Yeah, I just think Godfather 3 is the best one.
Well, that doesn't get a lot of attention. Yeah.
But I think too. This is when you were talking about the PM Entertainment list. I know you had Last Man Standing on it, and I think for anybody who's not really familiar with Jeff Wincott, those are two really great places to start for him. Is Last Man Standing and Martial Law 2, and honestly, I think you're right. I mean, if you're trying to get all the Cynthia Rothrock movies in, you should see Martial Law 1, but there's really nothing about Martial Law 1 that you need to see 2. So you could just jump into 2.
You could jump right into 2 if you want.
No problem.
No problem there. Also, I would add Mission of Justice.
Yeah.
If you want to check out Wincott. I mean, Rothrock's not in it, but it's a great Wincott performance.
Yeah, and I think that when you look at her with her co-stars, This is a bit of a unique one because, I think a lot of times with her co-stars, she's working with like Richard Norton, who Richard Norton did a really great job of putting the spotlight on Rothrock. Like he wanted to make sure that it was Rothrock that people were watching, because I think there was still that stigma about, oh, can a woman do this? Can a woman be a martial artist and star in these movies and be the hero and all of that? And he would always take a step back, I think, and let her be the star. I think he wanted that. I think he saw her potential and wanted that. And this movie's not really like that because Wincott is as much the star, but she has a lot of really great fight scenes, and I think it's kind of cool to see Wincott is not really taking a step back. Because I also don't think Wincott could have afforded to take a step back. He didn't have the career that Norton had to this point. Wincott was still trying to make a name for himself. And I think that's one thing about this movie that's great, is that you almost feel like the two of them are pushing each other to each do. They're gonna make their scenes the best possible and see who can be the actual star of the movie.
That's a great point. I totally agree. And that's what makes it such compulsive viewing. It's like they're supporting each other. You know what I mean? They're not in competition in a negative way. They're supporting each other. And you get that feeling in the team ups between Rothrock and Norton as well. It's because they had good chemistry together. That's why they're in so many movies together, because something about that combination really works. So I don't know what happened, behind the scenes, but on screen, it really works.
I did want to mention. Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. He calls it go ahead in the podcast world. Okay, so I did want to mention Evan Lurie in Martial Law 2 because he's extra meathead. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, anytime you can mention Evan Lurie, I don't think that should be passed by. I'm glad you brought that up.
Because we put it in our review that he I can't even write about laughing. It says that he has a strange speech pattern. He sounds like Stallone on half speed.
Wow, and that's pretty slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I full agree with you on Evan Lurie. I think the very first time I ever saw Evan Lurie was American Kickboxer 2. Not to be confused with American Kickboxer 1.
I think that's the first time we saw him also.
Yeah. And it was like, I've got to see everything that this guy's been in, and so I mean, finally, I think I did T-Force recently, and that was like the last one to do. But I remember I spent a lot of time and money to track down Guns and Lipstick, which he's in, just to be able to get every Evan Lurie movie on the blog at some point.
You're an Evan Lurie completist, which is great.
Exactly.
That's something to be proud of. Well, I mean, he has a great role as the baddie in Hologram Man.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Slash Gallagher.
He's got to shine in that.
Don't call me Norman.
That's his best. Yeah, that's his best work. Is clearly Slash Gallagher.
Yeah, Slash Gallagher. That's definitely a baddie for the ages.
Man, I want that name. What's my name? Slash Gallagher.
Well, you could always just change it. I mean, he was not Slash Gallagher either. He was Norman. So.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
so,
just pick it. You just pick the name you want, and
yeah, don't call me Norman. Doesn't he say that?
If you don't know Norman, yeah, call me Slash. Which I'll have to say that. Don't call me Tyler. Call me Slash.
Exactly. But yeah. I think that's another element of this movie that's definitely worth considering. For people that aren't familiar with Wincott, again, Evan Lurie is just one who just he shows up in these movies and he's a lot of fun to watch, and he's got great hair and all of that kind of stuff. And so, Rothrock is someone who has just done so many movies and worked with so many different people, and her career is just from Hong Kong to the U.S. and the different roles that she does. It's kind of cool to see that and I think that's one thing that's kind of cool about Rothrock is if you're trying to see a lot of her movies, you'll get introduced to some of these other people like this. I think if you haven't, I mean, hopefully, imagine people that are listening to our blog probably don't know who all these people are, and they're probably saying like, yeah, Matt, you don't need to tell me who these people are. I know them. That's why I came to your site to begin with, because you guys and Ty and really people talking about these movies, and so I was already watching them. And but if you are someone who hasn't been exposed to these, being a Cynthia Rothrock fan, you'll meet people, John Miller, that you will see people that you never that you probably won't be seeing in other movies, but it kind of expand it, so you'll start to kind of move from those to other ones. You'll be like, oh, what's like you were talking about, Brett, with Last Man Standing and Mission of Justice, where you can get like start doing more Wincott and all of those. And so I think that's one thing that's really cool about Rothrock is that her career is so expansive. She's worked with so many people. Fred Williams is another one she's worked with. Lauren Avedon. There's so many that you start to go, oh, Billy Blanks, whoever else. That's one thing I think is really cool about her career.
Yeah, because if you're a fan of any of the other people she's worked with, you're going to get that too. So it's almost like an added bonus. And if there's people you don't know, you're going to be introduced to some great people. Like, I doubt anyone would say, "Hey, I'm a big John Miller fan. I'm going to check out this Cynthia Rothrock person. Who's that?" No, you go. Yeah, so you're a fan of Rothrock, so you discover John Miller. It doesn't work the other way around. So yeah, you get exposed to all these really interesting, very colorful characters, and it very rarely gets boring. Let me put it that way.
Definitely.
Well, I have the perfect movie for the last one then. It never
Let's
gets
do it.
boring. Okay, here we go. Undefeatable.
Oh, yes. Okay. Glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, number one. It's the number one Rothrock movie.
I can't argue with this because I was looking at my number one, and my number one was a personal pick for me with the China O'Brien for the nostalgia factor and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you're comparing movies, for me, it's kind of like the same as like when you guys did the Van Damme list, and I was like, well, Bloodsport's my favorite, but I think Hard Target is his best. Or I think the same thing happened when we were doing the Seagal one, where I was like, I can't remember whatever it was I picked as my favorite, but we were thinking Marked for Death was his best.
You said that you put it on there twice, so then we were talking.
That's
and
right.
Then we said, it's like, it's 1 through 5, Marked for Death.
Right, exactly.
But that should illustrate the difference between like what might be called a sentimental favorite and what might not,
Yeah, but this movie, Undefeatable, I remember Kenner was the front. Ryan Kenner of Movies in the Addict was the first person to tell me about this movie because I didn't really. It wasn't one of the ones that I found, growing up in the 80s and 90s like I did China O'Brien or Rage of Honor and those kinds of ones. And when he mentioned it to me, I was like, okay, I'm going to check this out. I was a little bit leery of the fact that you have this serial killer martial artist who like beats women up and then gouges out their eyes. I thought that was a little bit too extreme for me. So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to want this movie. But then I watched it and it was like, nope, this is that good. Exactly. Any issues that you have with that I have with that kind of thing went out the window when I started seeing the fight scenes.
Well, yeah, and plus it's just too silly to take it 100% seriously.
You can't take Stingray that seriously.
Now this, it's kind of like it goes hand in hand. It's almost a companion piece to Honor and Glory. Because they're very similar in a lot of ways. They both have Rothrock and John Miller. They're both directed by Godfrey Ho, correct?
Yep.
And in America, and their plots and just everything about them, like the way they're shot, are very similar. I don't know if he shot them back to back, but knowing Godfrey Ho, he probably did. And they have a very similar feel, that very fun feel that is just so awesome and just so much fun to watch.
And he doesn't splice any other movies into it. Yeah. So it's the real movie.
Well, that's what I was going to say. For anybody who hears the name Godfrey Ho, which I think Undefeatable, he was still Godfrey Ho, whereas Honor and Glory, he was Godfrey Hall, that we went by that name in Honor and Glory. But I was going to say that for people who think of Godfrey Ho as, let's splice in a ninja movie with some Hong Kong movie and put them together and make a movie that way, that's not what these movies are. They're not two movies. I mean, who knows what they're spliced together? You never know exactly what happens, but it's not that idea. You're not going to see people who jump in with like ninja written in cursive or whatever that fancy script is.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
ninja.
Right, exactly. So that's not what these movies are, even though they were directed by Godfrey Hall or Godfrey Ho. They're I agree. I think you said in one of the Honor and Glory one that these might be his best. It's a different feel, but it's entertaining in a more, like, I don't know what the best way to describe it is, but in a more like straight ahead movie kind of way.
I think the word you're looking for is holistic, because they feel like whole complete movies. They're not spliced jobs. If they are, he did a great job, because you can't tell. I don't think they are.
No, they're real movies.
He wanted to try to go to America and make a full movie from start to finish, and that was his intention. As far as I can tell, that would be my guess. They're two peas in a pod. If you like one, you're going to like the other. So to a Rothrock fan or a newcomer, I would recommend both of those, Honor and Glory and Undefeatable. And Undefeatable has a great ending that I'm not going to spoil, but a couple minutes are fantastic.
Yeah. And so that's one thing I should mention too. If you look up Undefeatable on YouTube, the ending I think might be like the first video that comes up. So keep that in mind. That people love the ending. The ending is that's one thing I think that makes Undefeatable a better one for me than Honor and Glory, is that ending. I mean, I like the ending of Honor and Glory, but the ending of Undefeatable is just it's as perfect as it can be.
It's just like the ending to Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing. Go ahead, Ty.
Oh, okay. So I just wanted to mention the ending to Blood Debts because that also has a funny ending. If, I didn't want to give that away. Look that up on YouTube too. Blood Debts ending.
And that's a Teddy Page, right?
Teddy Page, yeah, has a similar kind of silly kind of ending. It's like, oh, you can't help but laugh.
Right.
Yeah, Teddy Page. If you like Godfrey Ho, you'll probably like Teddy Page. Teddy Page is someone worth talking about. One or both of us should, or the three of us should talk about him sometime because he deserves some time in the spotlight.
Just want to say two words: Phantom and Soldiers.
Yeah, Phantom Soldiers. We're talking about the end of the other movie. Check out the beginning of Phantom Soldiers. It's a killer beginning.
Yeah. Have you seen that one yet, Matt?
I think I've seen Phantom Soldiers. I haven't seen Blood Debts. Now, Blood Debts, I'm writing it down because that's just going to go on the list to check out for sure. But yeah, I mean, Teddy Page, you're right, is one of those ones. And the funny thing about Teddy Page is that he's one that you look up and you're like, you assume that that's really just like a stage name, and he's got like an Italian or a or Philippine or Asian name, and he's just going under the name Teddy Page. But no, it's Teddy Page. Like that's him. He's doing that stuff.
And I think that it's just the opposite. I think he gave himself some Philippine and Italian pseudonyms. Like, because if you look up his pseudonyms, he's directed lots of movies under all different names.
Yeah.
And
Now,
his movies usually have at least one really, really good scene. Like some of his movies hang together completely, but some they'll have like a really good scene or two. But he's a very interesting filmmaker that doesn't get a lot of attention, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't get mentioned in the names of like the Sirio A. Santiago's or Godfrey Hall or Godfrey Hall. I keep saying Godfrey Hall now because of the way he put his name in honorably Godfrey Ho, or Bruno Mattei or any of those. You're right about that. Like he does deserve to get mentioned more in that realm, because he's a name that when you're going to see his name come up enough if you're watching those kinds of movies, and I think that's part of it. He's almost like how Albert Pyun was for me, where Albert Pyun, when I first started the blog, I didn't really know who he was. I was just watching his movies, and it's like, boy, I'm noticing this name Albert Pyun is coming up more and more, and so it's like, oh, I've done like 20 of his movies. I should put him in the Hall of Fame. And Teddy Page is kind of the same thing, where it's like, you don't go into it thinking like, oh, I'm going to be this Teddy Page fan or somebody that you've heard of before. It's like, boy, this name Teddy Page seems to be coming up at the beginning of these movies a lot. Then you look him up on IMDb and find out that you've watched a bunch, and which I think is kind of a testament too to him that he makes the kind of movies that we like, which I think is important. And you're right, I think he does deserve more respect or more notoriety for what he does.
Oh, yes. I mean, the thing is, a lot of his movies never really came out on VHS or DVD here in the U.S., so I think that hampered him a little bit. I mean, yes, some did, like Blood Debts did, but I mean, how many people saw Blood Debts? Probably not that many. But a lot of his movies were only released in other parts of the world, so I do think that hurt him a little bit as far as his name recognition. But I mean, now we're living in the age of the internet, and that's changing, thankfully.
Yeah, that's helping with a lot of these things. I mean, Cynthia Rothrock movies that we couldn't get before, we can get now. I mean, suddenly, the Holy Grail, Secret of King Mahi's Island, that I think for 10 years, all of us were, when we first started doing these blogs, like that was one that was like, how do you get this movie? And, finally somebody, Simon was able to track down a copy of it. You can get stuff now that you couldn't before. And I think that helps, I think, too, when you're talking about someone like a Cynthia Rothrock, or whoever, Teddy Page, anybody, that you can go on IMDb, look up movies, and then see if they're on YouTube. And I think a lot of these movies that are on YouTube now, yes, obviously there's things that are uploaded illegally that, have copyright things, but for the most part, people can find movies. If I'm a company that doesn't want my movies on YouTube, I can go on there and find them and get them removed. So generally, if a movie's up there, it's up there because it's there because it belongs up there. It's going to be up there, and so you can get in there and find things that you couldn't find before, which I think is really cool.
Oh yeah, and I don't think there's too many people, hot to infringe the copyright of Secret of King Mahi's Island. You know what I mean? I think it's on there. People are leaving it alone because who cares, essentially? I mean, we care. But you know what I mean? Yeah. People don't care about the legalistic aspect of it.
Right. Well, because, I mean, it's not like it's being really, yes, it would be great if they put out a Blu-ray version, if they cleaned up the footage and put it on a Blu-ray and you could get it, maybe get it a pair with Final Reprisal or something like that with another.
That'd be nice.
Really cool.
That'd be really cool double feature.
Yeah, but if that's not happening, it's good for these movies to exist in some way for us to be able to enjoy them, and and especially for someone like Gary Daniels, who has so many movies he's done, to be able to watch one of his earliest ones and say, oh yeah, that's there he is, look at that, that's great. And it's not like it's the best movie, but there's so much of that factor of it, and that's like watching an early Gary Daniels like that makes it so good.
Usually these early. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Brett. No, go ahead.
You could compare him to Rothrock insofar as that he made movies in all different countries, and some of them are hard to find, and some aren't.
I was kind of about to say that also, because he's in these early PM movies, like for like a second as like a fighter, and right now
I think if you look up on IMDb, it says his first role is male stripper. Is that right?
Yes,
I didn't see that one.
It was Miami Vice.
Oh, yes, you
Miami
did.
Vice.
Yeah, it's very good.
That's his first role. I heard the story I heard about him was that he went to the Philippines and pretended to be a movie star with his like big man mane of long blonde hair and his rippled biceps and his martial arts ability, and he just like sold himself as a martial arts star. Movie star, and he got into those two Philippine movies, Final Reprisal and Secret King of Mahi's Island. And I guess he moved on to Hong Kong from there, right? Because he was doing like City Hunter and things like that. Which I think you're right about that with Cynthia Rothrock, kind of the same thing where she did both. I would say the one difference between those two is that Daniels made the move away from or doing things that weren't quite action. Maybe a little bit more so than Rothrock. I think Rothrock did a couple that were like kind of more like tense drama type things, but
there's Portrait in Red. It's like an erotic thriller. Haven't seen it.
In Night Vision, which came a lot later. The one she did with Fred Williamson.
Yeah, and Daniels is doing. He's doing Lifetime movies. He's doing Christian movies. He's kind of just like kind of just whatever's there. He's doing it, and I think Rothrock might start doing a little bit more of that. And I think it would be kind of interesting to see with her, because I think one of the things we're looking about, when we look at her movies, that like the 5 that you picked here, Ty, you add on the Rage and Honor series, you add on the China O'Briens, the Tiger
Lady
Claws,
Dragons.
all those.
Oh yeah, Lady Dragon too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she's done her martial arts scenes. We don't necessarily need her to be in a movie where she's doing a fight scene every 10 minutes anymore. We've kind of she's done her work. She's done her due. So, it would be interesting to see if she kind of makes that move the way that Daniels is still doing martial arts movies, but he's doing other stuff as well. I mean, I think it would be kind of funny to see Rothrock do like, The Wrong Whatever with
or The Wrong Child.
Right, The Wrong Child is the one I saw recently with Vivica A. Fox. I mean, it would be kind of cool to see her do that kind of stuff and not have to take like a small part in an action movie like she's been doing with like Showdown in Manila or something like that. I think for her that might be the next turn in her career, is to kind of just do those kinds of things. But who knows? I mean, I guess the one thing I would say is, she's done her work. She, we don't, I would love to see her do more martial arts in movies. I think that would be fantastic, but she doesn't have to. She's got this. Her CV is pretty real well locked up. I mean, again, the movies that you picked here, Ty, all of them are just filled with just high octane martial arts and action and.
The Scorpion Kick. Let's not forget about that.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you didn't mention that, I was going to mention that. We always love to see the Scorpion Kick.
Yes. Yeah. It's. I mean, it's almost like she gets out of the way too. Some like I think in Irresistible Force, like she does it in like the first 10 minutes. So it's like, okay, I've done it, and get on to the rest of the movie. Yeah.
Sorry. I was going to do a quick. I didn't want to list to pass without mentioning Bin Bin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, Bin Bin, the Magic Crystal. Yeah. Right.
Yes, I haven't seen that one. Now, I'm trying to think about that one. That's not the one. So that wasn't the one. That wasn't the one that was made in Cambodia, right? That was a different one. I think. Does that one have Richard Norton?
I think it's one for Hong Kong movies.
Yeah, Richard Norton's in it.
Right. Okay. And
yeah, it's a Hong Kong shot movie, I believe.
Yeah. Now
watched on YouTube.
Were you guys able to get that on? Oh, you saw it on YouTube?
Yeah, I think so. Right.
I believe we did, but it was a couple of years ago. It should still be there. There's a chance it might not, but I would check YouTube first.
Yeah, I've wanted to see that one for a long time. I mean, it's one I haven't seen yet. And I think I looked to see if it was on YouTube. It might be. It might be in my playlist or something like that. I've got a couple playlists. If you ever follow on YouTube, I've got one that's PM entertainment movies where I'm trying to kind of collect all of those, and then I have one that's just like what do it say, like just random movies that I see on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know I see your letterbox that has a bunch of movies you're going to be watching or watch soon.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Definitely I found, Blood Street is not a JCT one, so, but I found that one, but
okay.
Yeah, no, it's one that I definitely want to check out, because that's one I've had on my list for a while. So what was that one, like a lot of good martial arts in it, or is it kind of more like a fun, goofy thing?
I think it's a little bit of both, from what I remember. Because there's
there's definitely martial arts, and I think there's some mysticism, a little bit of like supernatural goings on.
It's all about the kid named Bin Bin.
There's a kid named Bin Bin. I think in real life his name is like Pin Pin or something. So, so it's like in credits it says like in Pin Pin as Bin Bin or something, and for that alone it's worth seeing.
It's kind of like Sergeant Slaughter as Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah. Or my Cobra Cole as Cobra Cole.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a dim sum place here in Philadelphia called Bing Bing. So when I hear Bin Bin, that's like the first thing that pops into my head. Is like the dim sum place.
Maybe they're big fans of the Magic Crystal.
Right, that could be. They didn't want to, but they were afraid of getting sued for copyright, right? For the Magic Crystal people will come and sue them for the rights to their restaurant.
So sue me, I'll sue you.
Right.
Sue.
It goes right back to suing. Yes.
Now, another honorable mention that I wanted to put out there was Rage and Honor 2, and the reason why I wanted to do that, yes, exactly. I remember actually watching this one with my dad. It was on like Spike or one of those channels, and it was on in like kind of in the afternoon, like kind of late afternoon before like we were gonna watch something else or something. So he was watching the end of it with me, and that scene at the end where Norton is beating up Patrick Muldoon, but he's also like taunting him too. He's like, I can't remember what the kid's name was, like Robbie or something like that, Patrick Muldoon's character. But he's like, like he's just like beating the crap out of him and then taunting him at the same time. I remember my dad like getting the biggest kick out of that. Like he was just like, he just thought that was fantastic, that he was like kind of like taunting Patrick Muldoon's character along with Richard Norton.
Well, it's funny you mentioned his name is Robbie, because I think his name is Tommy, so that's pretty good memory.
That's what it was. Yeah, Tommy, that's what it was. And he's like, "Come on, Tommy, you're a big boy." It was like, "Come on, you can do this, Tommy." It was like he's just like mocking him the whole time. The other thing I remember about that one is it had a poor man's Matthias Hughes in it.
Yes. Yeah. Wow, you have a good memory. Thor.
Well,
right?
I remember because I'd written in the blog. That's how I was like going back and checking it out. And because I was kind of looking through these myself to kind of see which ones I remembered. And that poor man's Matthias Hughes with that beautiful like blonde ape drape that he had, that was just when you think of 90s movies with their mullets, just having a mullet in a movie is just standard, right? You always have mullets in movies, and it's like, okay, the bad guy's got a mullet and he wears a black blazer and everything. But this guy's was fantastic. It was, it wasn't so much party. It wasn't a lot of business in the front. It was still kind of party-ish. It was a little more like business casual in the front, but the back was just all party. And, all of that was great. And then of course you still got, Rothrock and Norton in there. I call them the Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers of DTV action.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No. Finish your thought.
No, because I for me, I almost, when I was thinking of my top 5, I was thinking like I could almost just do like the 2 China O'Briens and the 2 Rage and Honors, and then it's like, well, then where do I fit everything else? And so and
that's the mark of a good star. That there's too many good ones to choose from.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun to mention, Brett, that I know Rage and Honor 2, Hostile Takeover, has that great.
Yes.
I like saying the subtitle. It has fish fighting.
Well, if you didn't mention it, I was going to. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. But yes, Richard Norton has 2 giant fish, and he kind of swings them around like nunchucks and beats people with fish. And in our review, I believe we said that he has pioneered the art of fish fighting.
Yeah. It's like Shoot Fighter,
Yeah, go ahead. I know.
You want me to do the shoot? You want to do the Shoot Fighter line? Okay.
Yes.
You have disgraced the art of shoot fighting.
Yeah. Okay.
So, you gotta watch it. Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah. and that's probably one thing that's good that my dad, I don't know, he would have probably gotten a kick out of it. I was going to say, like, maybe, him being a fisherman, if he saw somebody wasting fish like that in a fight scene, he might have been upset by it. But I think my dad would have seen the humor in that part, because, like I said, he only came in at the end. He just saw Patrick Muldoon getting the crap beaten out of him by Richard Norton at the end there.
Yeah, but see, that's how the movie turns things on its head, because it's not that someone's wasting fish, it's that the fish are wasting you.
Right, exactly.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, just going over the list here, though, I think you can't go wrong with anything. Like I said, I haven't seen Angel of Fury. I saw Lady Dragon 2, which I wouldn't put in my top 5. I thought that one was like
moments.
It had its moments. I think it was trying to split the difference between Lifetime movie and action movie too much.
It was an interesting split.
Yeah, and I think Rothrock is too much of a damsel in distress at parts in that movie. And I think for her, it doesn't work if she's like being captured by baddies, or, being threatened or menaced, or, having to like be.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Captured by Drago. Billy Drago is the villain.
Right. Yeah, it
as he
works
usually is.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, she needs to be the one who's she doesn't need to be having the day saved. She needs to be the one who saves the day. And like all the 5 that you picked here, Ty, that's how it. Again, I haven't seen the Angel of Fury, but the other 4, she is always nobody's rescuing her. She is the one who's. Yeah, I mean, she might not always be the lead in the movie, like you said with Undefeatable, but she's at the very least she's a star, or she's a partner. She's not someone that is the woman who gets dragged around and captured and all that stuff.
Right, and I don't even think that was a conscious decision on Ty's part. That's just the formula that works the best.
Absolutely. I just like, what are the best Rocks I can think of at the top of my head? And those are the first 5 that came up.
Exactly. I know, you guys were joking on your previous episode about the word trope, and I always joke that like the biggest trope in movie blogging is movie bloggers using the word trope, but I feel like it's like hard to come up with a different way to describe the term damsel or describe the concept of the damsel in distress in action movies, other than that. But I think it's one thing that I think for someone like Rothrock, it's a bigger deal. Like, Lorenzo Lamas can get captured and tied up and thrown in a corner or something like that all he wants, but it's like, because he's a guy, you just kind of, take it as like he's going to go do whatever he's going to do.
He'll break out of it.
Right, exactly. But it does have a different connotation when it's the female as the star. And so I think that's one reason why I didn't like Lady Dragon 2 as much, because of that. But it had, like you said, it had its moments. Whereas I think, like, when you look at these ones that you've chosen here, and then even some of our honorable mentions, it's like they don't just have their moments. It's like the whole movie's moments, right? It's like the whole thing. It stops a lot of its moments.
Well, I definitely think that's true for Honor and Glory and Undefeatable. In my personal opinion.
Now, that brings up a question, kind of going back to the John Miller topic. When I wrote the Honor and Glory one, I was saying I think I liked him better as the baddie in Honor and Glory than I did as the hero in Undefeatable. What do you think about that? Which one did you feel better?
100% agree.
Yeah, I would agree.
Better as the villain.
Yeah, he makes a great villain. I mean, it's close. I mean, because you get that great John Miller quality. But yeah, as a baddie, I think is his forte.
Yeah. Perfect. Excellent. Well, at this point, we're going to wrap up the Rothrock discussion. But before we do, any other thoughts or honorable mentions or anything like that you guys have?
Well, we kind of mentioned them. Rage and Honor 1 and 2. And, there's Tiger Claws has its moments.
Yeah.
The first Tiger Claws. It's kind of diminishing returns with the Tiger Claws series, but the first one, yeah.
This one was good. The third one, not the best.
Third one, oh boy, not.
We won't say anything too negative.
Yeah,
we're a happy show.
Yeah, you kind of feel like with that third one, you're like, man, because I mean, 2, really the only thing that holds up 2 for me is the fact that Bolo Young is working a food truck and like having to make somebody things
a
to
good
eat.
Memory.
Yeah, well, that's the only thing I really remember about that movie. I think when I made the post, I just posted pictures of him working in the food truck and like somebody like waking him up, and like I love the fact that he's like Bolo Young and he's like, oh, okay, all right, I'll start making some meals for these people now and stuff like that. And it's like, and I think like it's disgusting, wasn't it? Like it was like horrible, and they couldn't stand it because he didn't know how to make the food because he's like from some ancient period in the past that they brought him to the future from or something. But yeah, it's. Oh no, I was gonna say like when we get to that third one, it's almost like, yeah, maybe you should have stopped at 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did feel a bit unnecessary. It has kind of a ridiculous ending from what I recall. But it's funny you should mention Bolo as a food truck driver, because in Shoot Fighter, isn't there a fight in a grocery store?
I think there is, yes.
Or there's some sort of food related fight, I think, in Shoot Fighter.
I already did the lines. I'm not doing it again.
That's okay. Well, once is more than enough.
Oh, okay, good.
But, yeah, I mean, I think the thing that strikes me about Rothrock when I look is, we've got about 30 of her movies on the blog. Is that, her career, it's not just like, you think like, oh yeah, she's sort of the first lady of DTV action, but really her career, I mean, I would take the Pepsi challenge with her CV and, against someone like Don the Dragon Wilson or, Gruner or somebody like that, where it's like, you look at Wilson, he's had a really fantastic career as well, but, like he's got the Blood Fist series and a few others, but you almost feel like Rothrock, it's like Hong Kong, United States, doing kind of just all kinds of different movies.
Cambodia.
Yeah,
Right?
Cambodia, exactly. It's almost like Wilson, he had his career that was really fantastic, but it was kind of almost like limited to that Southern California, doing movies, Roger Corman, PM Entertainment stuff. And we think of Wilson as being one of the big mainstays of DTV action. I mean, I would put her career up against Lamas's as well, I think. I mean, again, outside of Renegade, he's got a few DTV series, and we think of him as like one of the big names. But her career, not just thinking of her as being like as a woman in her career, but just overall, putting her in with all the stars, I feel like you got to put her right up there with the big names.
Absolutely, she has a lot of top.
Definitely.
There's at least 7 to 8 good ones, which is fantastic.
And better than some, like you mentioned Gruner. I mean, I think her career outshines Michael Paré, in my opinion. I mean,
Paré, and he has a lot of weak ones. And Paré and Lamas are in Killing Streets.
Yes,
and still wasn't very good.
Right.
But yeah, like you said, you can put her up against a lot of the DTV or even not DTV action stars, and I think she has more winners in her column than not.
Yeah, I agree with. I mean, I think someone like a Dudikoff even. We think of Dudikoff as being like like the one of the biggest names, and you put their careers together, and it's like it's interesting. With Dudikoff, there's quite a bit of drop off after the American Ninjas, where yes, he's got some real great ones out there. There's a lot of other fun ones, but I don't know if you'd go as deep with his career the way you would go with Ryan. Now again, he came into this in a very different way. He didn't come into it as a martial artist. He came into it as kind of just a movie star character, a person who wanted to just get in as an actor in movies, and then he gets the American Ninja movies, and I think it's kind of like the Michael Jai White effect, where Michael Jai White said, he doesn't like to do a lot of action movies because he says, when you kick someone in the face, you get known for kicking people in the face. And I think that was kind of the Dudikoff thing, where he kicked people in the face in American Ninja, and they're like, okay, you need to kick people in the face in all the movies you're in now. And so, but I think, Rothrock is definitely someone that, I think it's, this podcast has probably been long overdue. We probably, I probably should have scheduled this, further in the past, but, I think it's definitely, she's someone that is one of the biggest names, I think, and had probably one of the biggest careers out of all the people that we feature on our sites.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm happy working for this podcast.
Excellent. Well, so we'll leave that there, and then kind of right now, what do you guys have coming up on the sites and the podcast and all of that?
Well, let me think. What's the next review? I think we have is it One Way Out? A
great one. One Way Out with
Ivan
possibly
Rogers.
National treasure, Ivan Rogers.
Yeah, you gotta check this one out. Might still be on Amazon Prime, Matt.
Okay,
I'm
writing that one down then, with Blood Deaths.
Yeah, Blood Deaths and One Way Out. Yeah, because Ivan Rogers is amazing.
He'll be your new hero.
He'll be your new hero. He'll be just like John Miller.
He'll be like my next Evan Laurie, right? I'll just be I'll be like trying to get like what.
I think you'll love him as much, but he's very, very different. He's a different type of action star. He's pretty soft spoken.
That's all we have to say.
He's very understated.
I can't wait to check that one out. If that one's on Prime, then yes, I'm definitely going to try to do that one. I think that's fantastic. I know, Ty and I will sometimes talk about like what are we watching right now, or what are we doing for the blog, and have been kind of trying to take a break on watching movies for the blog because I had like such a huge backlog. And I don't know if you guys are kind of like, and I know Ty was saying you're kind of getting through the watch pile.
Oh yeah, we have a pile, and our pile is actually going down, but we do have a huge, kind of a banked backlog of movies that we will be posting. So it's movies we've watched and the reviews are written, but we watch more movies than we post. So we only do one review a week on our site. But so basically the good news for anyone who enjoys our site is it's going to keep going and going and going for a long time to come, because we have a lot of finished reviews that will be coming throughout the next probably several years, I would say.
Years. Well, I think Blue Tiger might be the next one, actually.
Yeah, Blue Tiger.
Virginia Madsen. Then I think it'll do One Way Out.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I remember you mentioned that one. That one's already on my list to check out. I that one sounds fit. I mean, you guys have over 1,200 now?
Yes. We have over 1,200 reviews on the site.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, because I think I had asked Ty, I was like, because I don't know about you guys, I will sometimes forget if I'll like look up a movie, or I'll see a movie and I'll be like, oh, I should watch that for the blog, and then I'll look up that actor and realize I already did that movie before and I've completely forgotten. We're not quite there yet. We're closing in on 1,000, but it is funny how when you do so many, and you guys have been doing it, over 10 years now, right? So it's like so many.
There's some earlier ones from like 06. I guess we'll count those too. But yeah, it's been 10 straight years of doing this.
Yeah.
Basically, 2010 is when the site kind of really kicked into high gear. So, yeah. But Ty was doing it before then, so it's really been quite a while.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think we talked, we'd come, because I started in 07, and I feel like it was not long after that we were in contact and talking about reviews and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. It must have been that long. It's hard to remember. And I have to mention to you via audio that your review of Extreme Honor is so funny.
What was it?
I mean, the 300-pound pork roast meathead guy. Yeah. I can't. I still laugh at that every day.
Yeah. Anybody who's not familiar with that, if you go to the site, if you go to the blog, actually, because 300-pound pork roast is tagged, and because it's a number, it's at the top of the tags. So if you go to the tags, you'll see it there. But Extreme Honor was a movie that it was probably, I would say, it's up there with Ambush, the Dolph Lundgren movie. It's like the worst bait and switch ever. If you look on the cover, you see what looks like it's going to be a Michael Ironside, Olivier Gruner action fest.
And Madsen.
Yeah, and with Madsen, Michael Madsen in it, and you think, okay, this movie is going to rule. And then you get into it, and it's just featuring this guy who is best described as a 300-pound pork roast. That was the best way I could describe it. But no casting aspersions on him. I actually put on the blog, I said, you might feel like I'm being too hard on this guy by calling him that. And it's like, well, no, if the movie's going to package it this way, they think he's the 300-pound pork roast, right? They're like, we can't center this movie around it. We can't advertise this movie or sell it as, based on a 300-pound pork roast. We've got to sell it as a Gruner film, and I think I was so mad about that bait and switch that I just went. It was like I was like seething. I think as I was watching the movie, I was like, I can't believe that they're doing this to me, and so and people have joked, they're like, when are you going to use that 300-pound pork roast tag again? And it's like, that guy's not doing any other movies, he's like, that was just one movie. It's like, I don't know if I should tag other people as 300-pound pork roasts, but I mean, I guess if it ever comes up again, but
maybe you could do like different weights, like maybe you could do like a 250-pound pork roast.
Somebody else is not quite the 300-pound pork roast. Because the other one, the Ambush bait and switch, that was a trailer cover everything bait and switch, where they were like packaging as this movie where Dolph Lundgren is squaring off against Randy Couture and Dolph's the DEA agent and Randy Couture's the drug dealer, and they're like,
sounds good.
Yeah, right. It seems fantastic. You watch it, and all they're doing is just following around this like millennial jackass guy who's like completely I don't know, he's just like he's a total tool, and he's like and he's like doing his own monologues and stuff, and it's like there's very little Dolph, very little Randy Couture, and I was like, how could you do this to me? Like, how could And I've never seen a trailer bait and switch before. I think that was what got me, was that the trailer was making it seem like this was a fantastic movie, and I was like, no, this is, so yeah, those two, I think, for bait and switches, and I don't think Ambush, that review didn't come out anywhere near as well as the Extreme Honor one, where Extreme Honor, I was just like, yeah, the 300-pound pork roast.
But there is a quote in the movie. Now, I personally haven't seen Extreme Honor, but Ty has, and he told me about a quote that happens. Yeah. Ty, you know what I'm talking about.
You have honor. You have extreme honor. So,
Like that line is actually said in the movie. Like someone says, "You have extreme honor," right?
I think they tell that to the pork roast. So I have to rewatch it, or maybe that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I don't have a copy, but I can probably get one.
I think I have a copy too, because I think I bought it. I think I was like, it's
Oh.
Gruner. Maybe I didn't buy it. Maybe I got it from Netflix. But it was
Yeah,
one
me
of those
too.
things. Yeah, it's like I've got to get Gruner. I need more Gruner. I'd put him in the Hall of Fame at that time, and I was trying to kind of get more of his films up. And here's this one. He's on the cover. You just think, okay, this is going to be perfect. And you're just watching it, and it's like, okay, wasn't Olivier Gruner in this movie? You see him at the very beginning, and then he doesn't show up again, and it's like, okay, well, why do I care about this 300-pound pork roast and his daughter that's dying of cancer? Like, what reason do I have to care about this? I'm watching an action movie with Olivier Gruner and Michael Ironside, and so yeah, that needs you start to realize, because that's the thing. I think I also put in the post that I was going to report them to the Better Business Bureau, which I didn't do that, but.
So that means 300-pound pork roast isn't going into your Hall of Fame anytime soon.
No. Fortunately, he doesn't have the CV. He doesn't have but that could be
because if he did, he would be first probably because it's a number like the tag. So the first one you'd see would be the 300-pound pork roast, then everyone else.
Well, you know what it could be is like the Baseball Hall of Fame has like these areas where it's like when milestones happen, like that, it's like, oh, this person gets their whatever it hit, so we're going to put that bat. And then it's like, if it's like the first thing that happens in this sort of thing, they'll put it in the, and so like might be a person who's not a Hall of Famer but does something, so like 300-pound pork roast might go in for like the worst bait and switch ever. Like,
well, at least he'll be there. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Like he'll get his own little wing of it. Right. That's the point. I could create another area of it, like like honors.
There's a little shank, you might say.
Right. Exactly. You gotta walk through, because you go through where all the busts are. Right. The busts of the stars that have their movies, and then you've got other parts of the DTV Hall of Fame building that you can go through. And there's a 300-pound pork roast known for being the worst switch of all time. There's like a little read the thing that you read, right, that talks about it. When Matt first rented this movie, it was like,
yeah, I can see that.
Like an audio tour, yeah.
Right. In whatever year, 2009 or something. Yeah, and it kind of just covers the whole thing. And yeah, that's a good point. Like you could, things like that probably do need like some kind of something more than just being the tag, the 300-pound pork roast, because that was definitely kind of a classic review there that making lemonade out of lemons there.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what we do sometimes. Go ahead, Brett. Sorry, I cut you off.
That's what we do sometimes. You watch a movie that's not so great, but somehow when you write a review of it, you can kind of like turn that into something that's at least sort of fun or entertaining to read. I enjoy doing that, like flipping that,
Yeah.
I just want to say that if pork roast is in the Baseball Hall of Fame, he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame, but not Pete Rose. Not the guy.
Well, now we're just getting crazy because now we're talking about baseball. And
I know, but I just wanted to sneak that in because he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Well, that would probably be like.
What you might say is that the pork roast would be in the Baseball Hall of Fame, but Pete Rose isn't in any action movies.
Oh, that'd be good because he has a great haircut for it.
It would be great.
Rose,
Rose. Yeah.
That's an aside. Did you guys ever see the TV movie that ESPN did about Pete Rose, where Tom Sizemore played him?
I sure did. I love Tom Sizemore.
Yes. It was like hard to think of him as Pete Rose, because he was like playing this like this degenerate gambler, like kind of like overweight, like kind of like elderly gentleman who's just like going around like ripping people off, and then it was like hard to I think Brian Dennehy as Coach Knight was a little bit better, but
that's really good casting.
That's good. Season on the brink.
I haven't seen the Pete Rose movie, but just off the top of my head, like Sizemore doesn't really look like Pete Rose.
No. It was a fascinating movie. It was like, yeah, I mean, the best way to describe it would be like if, I don't know, like what, it would be like if you were doing a movie about like some, elderly degenerate gambler who like hangs out at like Foxwoods or something like that, and like wears like, like Velcro shoes and like some old like khakis or whatever, and like an old members only jacket, and that was the Pete Rose he was playing. And whenever he was doing anything baseball wise, you're like, who is this is just some guy from that you're seeing like playing lottery tickets at the convenience store or something.
No one really talks about Hustle, the Tom Sizemore movie. So it's Remember the title.
I mean, it was fascinating. It was a fascinating movie, and I mean, I enjoyed it. It just, if I was Pete Rose, I would not have been happy that like Tom Sizemore. I mean, he just like destroys him in that movie. It's like,
did he have the hair? Like, was Tom Sizemore? Did he have like that bowl
Yeah,
haircut?
he sure did.
yeah,
Doesn't
but
really
even
pull it off.
worse. It's even worse. It was like that hair, but like again, like someone just like you'd see sitting on the bus or something who's like getting off to go like go to the DMV or something or whatever, and like taking advantage of like a senior discount at the grocery store on a Tuesday morning. It was like,
Oh boy. Well, that's the wonderful world of DTV for you. You never know what you're gonna get.
Exactly. Well, maybe that's a good note to wrap it up on.
Yeah.
Where can everybody find you guys?
All right, well, Brad, you do the plugs.
Well, you're better at most of the plugs, but I will say that our podcast, the Comeuppance Reviews podcast, is on iTunes and now a number of other formats.
Oh, yeah.
We're now on TuneIn, Google Play, and Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify.
So people can check out our podcast there. The website that we've referenced many times throughout this podcast is comeuppancereviews.net. And if you want to email us, usually about a podcast-related question or concern, you can do that at crpodcast@yahoo.com. Ty has some of the social media links, so I'll let him do those.
Sure, I'll do that. It's Ty Comeuppance on Twitter and Comeuppance Reviews on Facebook, and Ty Action Rocks on Instagram. That's basically where I live. So
your VHS pictures.
I post my VHS pictures. I posted Night of the Kick Fighters today.
Yes, which was fantastic. I think one thing that's great, people that aren't following you on Instagram, everybody should be a Thai actor. I mean, following everything, great, following all this stuff. But what I love about it is it's not like you're just posting like VHS, like, oh, I found Jerry Maguire at a yard sale or something like that. Like, these are like from your collection, and they're like, if you like the kind of movies that we're talking about on this podcast here. Like each day you feature a new one that is just right in that where it's like either it's like I've never heard of that one and I got to check this out, or it's like I remember that one and it's so cool that you have a copy of it, or it's like I have that too and it's really great to see this, and I mean every part of it too, where you've got like the tagline, you've got the the synopsis on the back, where I mean like Night of the Kick Fighters is great because it's like they spell kickboxing capital K ICK space capital B for boxing.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah,
aspects of that too. I don't mean to cut you off, but first off, Andy Bauman's posture is very funny. He's sort of like tipped over on one leg with his leg in the air. He has like a blade of some sort in his shoe. I think it's a pasted on face on a different body.
Yes, it has to be. It looks
yeah. And the kicker is that it says he's in these other movies that don't exist.
Yes.
Which, in the age before the internet, you could get away with that. Like it says Andy Bauman from Ninja, what is it, Ty?
Ninja 2, Ninja 3, and Night Kill.
Those are not real movies. They made him up. So only in the era of VHS, before the internet, could you even do that. So that makes it a gem right there. And it's kind of indicative of the movie itself, which is also a gem. It's a movie people have to see. But the box alone will keep you mesmerized for at least several minutes, I would say.
That's why I bought it. I saw the guy's face. It's like, I need to buy this movie. And it was worth every penny.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, Night Kill and Ninja 2 aren't real movies? What? I want to see more Andy Bauman. What's going on here?
I know. We've been saying that for years.
Then can we bankroll these movies? Like, can we make them real? Like, if I had the money, I would just make Night Kill and say, okay, now it's real.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was great. It's like that's just like one box. Like all of them like have sort of all of that stuff to them, and it's just one of those things where it's like every day I'm kind of scrolling through Instagram, and I see that it's like it's so fantastic. Just kind of look at that, and then kind of page, and then and then like and then you see the comments, and like people are a lot of times people are like, oh, I've got to check that out or something. But it is always kind of funny to see someone who's seen it and like, oh, this or that or something, or just again like just picking up some of the funny lines like that, like you said, like the fact that none of the movies actually existed. Like you could do that back then. Like one you didn't have the internet, so you weren't going to go home and look. You'd just be like, oh, I'm going to wait till I see that in the store. You're going to be like, well, yeah, if this guy was in these movies, he must be pretty good. I'm going to rent this. And
I think when I first bought this movie, I thought, wait, let me look into this Ninja 2 and Ninja 3 and Night Kill. I couldn't find anything.
Well, yeah,
It's not.
you would have no reason to think otherwise. Like like back in the late '80s, early '90s, you would say, okay, next time I go to the video store, I'm gonna look out for those. You had no reason to doubt that they were real movies, but upon closer inspection, they are. And the other interesting thing is that AIP really tried to turn kick fighting into, I guess you would say, a thing. Because, they had Night of the Kick Fighters. They had a Kick Fighter with Richard Norton, where he plays a 9-year-old in the opening sequence.
Let's not forget, he plays a 9-year-old. He has like a bowl haircut and a goofy like little hat.
Yeah.
And I think there's one or two other things where they mentioned the term kick fighting, and it just, as I think I said in one of the reviews, it never really took off. Like around the water cooler at work the next day, no one ever said, "Hey, did you see that great kick fighting movie last night?" Like that didn't really work, but they tried. They really tried, and we respect that.
Well, because don't they say it's the don't they say something like it's the best kick fighting movie or something like that? Like it's
yeah
it's kick fighting like you've never seen before.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like it is like it's a thing. Like it's like you yeah, like I most people are like, I've never seen kick fighting before, but nobody wants to admit they've never seen kick fighting before, because you don't want to be the one person who's never seen kick fighting, right?
You want to be the loser that's going to admit that. And also, if you look on the spine of some of the box, where it has a category where it'll say like action or drama, whatever. I think on some of them it says kick fighting as the genre.
I'll double check that.
I think I'm right.
Yeah, you're right. It says kick fighting.
Oh man. Yeah, that is. Yeah, it's. I think we that's part of the nostalgia factor, I guess, is all this is like trying to remember what it was like back then. And it's funny because you think of like watching like USA Up All Night or something, where they did like those sex romp things where you'd have these characters that would play movie industry people doing things like essentially like that. Just write whatever on the box. Just say they were in these movies, that no one will know. And you realize when you see these movies, you're like, no, that stuff was real. Like they weren't just like making fun of something or just like playing something up. Like they probably knew people that were doing this crap and they were putting in the movie.
Yeah, well, but like you said, it all goes back to that great video store nostalgia that can never be repeated. And so it goes into that category now of, oh, this was so cool, this was so great. Like you can't imagine a movie coming out on Blu-ray today and Sony making up a bunch of movies that someone was in. Like it would never, ever, ever happen.
Yeah, well, because you get caught immediately for pulling that, and so and I mean that's what blows my mind about the bait and switch thing is that people do bait and switches now, but I guess it's because there's still not enough if I make a movie and I completely repackage it as something else to try to sell it, like, oh, this movie's got Bruce Willis in it for 5 minutes and he doesn't even do his reverse shots, but I'm gonna plaster his face on the cover and sell it. Like it's going to take a little while before, and a lot of people are if they're at their Redbox thing or they're looking to stream something, they might not go through the process of looking on IMDb and seeing who reviewed it, what they said about it, and find out like, oh, there's no Bruce Willis really in this movie, I'm not going to watch it. So they can still get away with it to that point, but yeah, you can't say like there was movies because you're going to get killed on the internet. People are going to make fun of you for it.
Well, yeah, and I think we've mentioned this before, maybe even on one of your podcasts, but I think the closest thing, the last time they did this is when they made up that fake reviewer.
Oh, David Manning?
Yeah, where they said David Manning gave all these great reviews and his name is quoted on all these boxes, but there is no such person as David Manning.
Well, like you said, he loved A Knight's Tale, but then he got caught because he loved The Animal with Rob Schneider. So
see, that was too far. That's what did it. That is too far.
Knight's Tale you can get away with, not The Animal. No one likes The Animal. Or maybe you do.
That's what raised the red flags. Like, wait a minute, no one liked The Animal. This guy can't be real.
Yeah, because I think you guys mentioned that on your the DT Memories that you did with your friend Paul on that episode.
Oh.
We did.
Yeah, which was a really great episode. I mean, again, we were talking about people should be following your podcast anyway. But yeah, I remember you mentioned that yeah, I mean, because I think there was a certain point where like movies like The Animal, they just stopped screening them for critics. They were just like, you know what. But if you notice now, what they do is when they do critics for a movie, they will do like 5 quotes from the same critic that was like Maxim magazine or somebody like, or some like movie blogger, and it's like the same five different quotes but from the same review. And it's like, greatest movie ever, says Jim from Action Movie blog or something like that, and then it's like nonstop action, loved every minute of it. And then again you see in small writing Jim from Action, and it's like that's one thing they do try to do now. Like they I guess instead of inventing someone, it's like if we can just find one person who likes it, that's what we can go with.
Well, I mean, and sometimes you have to look far and wide for that. Like when Ty, the movie with Tyler Perry.
Alex Cross.
Yeah, and it said such and such from MySpace.
It didn't even say a name. It just said MySpace.
Right.
I mean, come on. I mean, talk about a reach. Like, did that many people hate that movie that they couldn't even find one person not on MySpace? And this wasn't. I mean, this was long after the demise of MySpace. They had to really, really reach there.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just kind of funny to see. It's like, I really loved it. It says MySpace. Oh, okay.
Oh, MySpace loved it? I'm gonna watch it right away.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like the Minion. Somebody actually quoted on the box for that one. They quoted my review of it, where I said it's too amazing for words, and of course it was like a completely ironic too amazing for words. Right? 'Cause I'm talking about like him like using a spike glove to get people in the primitive part of the brain because he's a KGB trained Knights Templar and like all of this crazy stuff. And I was just saying how hilarious it all was, and so I said it's too amazing for words, and that's the quote that they used.
Context, interesting.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, maybe that's a lesson for any movie blogger out there that even if you don't like a movie, say you like it at one sentence of the paragraph, and that might get it into
like the one time, I mean, we could have been quoted other times, I don't know, but we are quoted on the box for Gang Wars, aka Devil's Express.
Nice.
Which is a great movie.
Did you guys actually like that one, or was it?
Yeah, we did, and the quote was completely in context, and I didn't know. Like, I just bought the Blu-ray like anybody else. It's not like they told me. So I got it in the mail, and it's like, hey, that's what I wrote. So I thought that was really, really cool. But yeah, they took. I just said it's like, I forget what it is, but it's like it's weird, and people should see it, and it's a must see, for like B action fans or something to that effect. And they quoted it, and that was really cool.
Yeah, it's funny they don't tell you about that. Yeah, because like the Minion one, somebody saw it in their like not Circuit City. I don't think Circuit City was still open at that time, but it was like one of those kinds of places. And they took a picture and sent it to me, and I was like, no way, I got to buy it. And it's like, yeah, we probably have I mean, not to make us out like we're the greatest things ever, but we probably have other like reviews on boxes in places that we have no idea about.
Why don't they just tell us? Like, just email us or something. I would want to own anything that they quoted us on, like, because I mean the Gang Wars Blu-ray was put out by Code Red, Ronin Flicks. I was trying to figure out like maybe we're quoted on some other Ronin Flicks stuff, but I just, unlike Ty, they don't show the backs of the boxes on their website. Ty does on his site. They don't. So I mean, I don't know. We could be on some of the other ones, but I don't know.
Show the back of the box.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Well, it's like because we remember I was showing Ty that you guys had a movie quoted in Marco Seidelman's new Sam Furstenberg book, which is
I told the Brett.
Yeah, and
we're going to be in that lunch meet thing, right, Ty?
Yeah, yes, but I can't really explain it. It's like we're going to be on like a magazine thing.
Yeah,
like they took a review for Triple Impact, right?
You're gonna take a review for Triple Impact of Dale Apollo Cook, and then give us some credit. It's gonna be on a website. It's gonna be cool.
Oh, excellent! That's really cool. Yeah. So at least at least somebody's telling you like we're doing.
Yeah, this. I got a message and all that stuff. It's all set.
Yeah, I think it's a shame they don't always do that, because it's nice to know and be able to say, because that you can share, like you're sharing it here, you're sharing that's happening, and you'll share it later.
Right.
Yeah, I mean we'll get the word out more if you let us know.
Yeah, and same thing with that Jacob Gustafson book, which I think it's a self-published book, and I know that we did a blurb actually for it.
On the back, yeah, because he sent me a copy of it to review, and your quote is on the back.
Yeah, so that's another thing when they quote it. So that's the stuff we know about.
Right.
If anyone out there has stuff that we're on and and we don't, message us. Get in contact with us.
Yeah, everybody out there, let us know if you're using our quotes for things, because first off, we're happy. We're happy that you're using the quotes.
Yeah, we want to know.
Yeah, and we'll publish it. We'll publicize it even more. We'll put the pictures on our Instagrams and our social media, and we'll get the word out for your movie even more if you're using our quotes. So yeah, let us know if you're doing that, because we're happy to.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we contacted Code Red on Twitter afterward, and we said like, "Oh, thanks for using our quote." And they're like, "Yeah, no problem." It's like, okay, well, when were you going to tell us?
Exactly. They weren't. That's the thing. They weren't. They just wanted to use it. So but maybe that's a good note to leave things on. But
Yes.
just for the vlog here or the podcast, we by all means, reach out. The blog, dtvconnoisseur.blogspot.com, Twitter, Facebook, the whole 9 yards. You know how to find us. But thank you again, Ty and Brett, for coming on. This was another really great episode. I had a great time.
Definitely our pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having us on once again. We'll have you on again our podcast very soon.
All right, perfect.
Yeah,
That
we'll
sounds good.
put something.
We'll definitely
Maybe
have you guys.
skyscraper. Yeah.
Skyscraper, yeah.
Well, yeah, Skyscraper. Yes, we're gonna have you guys on in a future episode to discuss Skyscraper, or we could do it on your podcast. Either way, yeah, we could do it either way because I'm sure Richard Haas, he knows how to find you guys. He should. If he doesn't, he should. He should be listening to your pod. But I think he has. I think he's tweeted about.
I think he has, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So we could do it either way. Whatever works out for sure. All right.
Well, we'll have to do that. And if we don't do that, we'll do something else, and we'll always stay in contact.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks again, guys, and thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye.
Mary redeemed a $50,000 cash prize playing Chumba Casino this year.
I was only playing for fun, so winning this was a dream come true.
Chumba Casino is America's #1 social casino experience. It's serious fun. With over 80 casino-style games to choose from, you too could win life-changing amounts of cash. Be like Mary. Log on to ChumbaCasino.com and give them a whirl. That's ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void or prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details. The voice in the preceding commercial was not the actual voice of a winner.